All right, welcome back to the Words and Stone podcast, or I guess welcome actually, because the first one didn't really record. So this is, I suppose, our pilot episode.
Yep, the first one was just all voice.
Technical errors on my part, actually. We only got about half the voice. So
Yeah,
the second half didn't record.
Pretty much we didn't have enough equipment.
Ineptitude, that's all it is. It's fine. We're figuring it out day by day.
So, a lot to go through.
Yeah, it's a lot happened this week, right?
Yep, lots. Just even yesterday. Rumor has it J.D. Vance killed the Pope.
I heard that under reliable information.
Oh, yeah.
He was the last person he saw.
Yep, he went there. He
Shady
didn't have a
business.
mask on. Probably infected him with sarin gas or something, and poor guy passed away. Feel terrible. I've been a Catholic all my life, but some of these people are just crazy. I don't know exactly where they get their information or where they try to formulate their thoughts, but it's not from anywhere I know.
So, sad about the Pope passing, I assume?
Yeah, but he was there for 12 years. He was getting quite elderly, and they do make archbishops retire at, I believe, the age 70, 75.
How old is this one? 88?
And the Pope is 88, so there's no, you're staying until you resign or until you pass away. So,
Oh man, it's like Congress.
pretty much, But I think Schumer's got him beat, and McConnell's got him beat. Nancy Pelosi had him beat. So, it's a shame. But last week we basically touched on a little bit, which you guys didn't get to hear. But we were talking about why don't people take personal responsibility for anything they do? And it's getting to be worse and worse. These lawlessness, they're going out and they're spray painting Tesla showrooms. And these people have nothing to do with it. They don't even know if they're Republican just because they sell them. They think they are. They damage all their property. They set it on fire. And people stand there and watch. I don't know. How's that fair?
It's absolutely not. And tribalism has gotten pretty crazy. At least that's what I would that's what I would call what's going on nowadays. Not only the tribalism between left and right, red and blue, but the tribalism between races and classes and whatnot. I think more so the races and the left and right parties are getting pretty pretty ridiculous with their tribalism.
It's gotten out of hand.
It's to the point to where people are saying insane things that I genuinely, in my heart of hearts, do not believe they think or believe, but it's what their side agrees with, and they don't want to be excommunicado from that side. And it kind of falls back into the lack of self-responsibility or self-accountability, like you're saying. Nobody wants to admit when it's their fault or there's an issue because there's a person to blame and they have a game to win. They have people to bring into their side. They can't lose. They can't admit they were wrong, so they have to project that onto the opposing party. And unfortunately, I think the conservatives do this quite a bit as well too. And it's easy to pick fun at the liberals, but both parties have this issue.
Well, I always thought we were the United States, and we were supposed to be democratic. And how the other side votes, something, I didn't like Biden. Unfortunately, he was still the president. I hate to say it, but now the whole country voted, and overwhelmingly Trump won. And these people just can't take it. And everybody thinks they can do what they want. And guess what? There's laws. We need to enforce the laws. And we need to take back American values, family values. That's what we're missing.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we talked about, that no one got to hear. The nuclear family, I think, is a big part, and the degradation of it is kind of where we got to where we're at now. But I just wanted to bring up for a quick moment that it's funny how, during the during the Biden administration, they would always try to exemplify the MAGA or the conservatives as people that were, defying the law, breaking the law, insurrectionists even sometimes. We marched on the Capitol, so we wanted to overthrow the government. When there's a video of let's see, the gentleman in he plays Pest in the 1997 movie. Let's see, John Leguizamo. I butchered his name. I don't care. He is absolutely insane. There's a video of him on X going viral here recently, talking about how people need to, not just campaign anymore. We need to get out and do something. The things that they do now, a fraction of that was classified as insurrectionism, terrorism, political activation to a ridiculous degree. But now they're actually calling actively for us to go, or for people, their side, to go out and protest. And I think we all know that they don't just mean protest. The last time that the liberals protested, there was dozens of cities that got burnt to the ground. They don't do it with good intention, is what I'm getting at. And it's funny that they want to point and project with all these things, but we're sitting here, we're happy we won. When Biden was elected, I wasn't out burning down cities. I wasn't trying to, coordinate events to, try to, I don't know, just basically bitch in public about my loss. Um, it just seems pretty ridiculous. The other side is extremely radical, but they want to project this situation where they're the most righteous people, like they have the moral high ground, if you will. And it's just blatantly obvious to anybody that actually pays attention and doesn't succumb to the tribalism that's just not the case. I mean, there's definitely radicals on both sides. That's always going to be a small percentage of the people that or in any party really. But as far as the general, I feel like the general conservative or the general liberal, I think we all kind of have an idea in our mind of what those look like, and they're vastly opposite than what we're told they are in the media.
Well, but what bothers me is that this is even coming from our politicians. If we would have went out there and said the things that Maxine Waters is saying
Mm-hmm.
about, you know, she wants Trump gone, she wants Elon Musk gone, she wants, you know, Hexeth gone, and she's not talking about just leaving. She wants him done. She wants him dead. And if that would have been a Republican saying that, oh my lord, you never would have been able to, you know, you wouldn't have heard the end of it. They would have impeached him, or they would have come after him and thrown him in jail for whatever.
Look how heartless and radical they are. They want to destroy us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they want to
absolutely.
destroy us. You know, it's sad that it's come to this, but we have gotten to the point where everyone thinks they can say what they want, do what they want, and there's no repercussions. And the repercussion is we have laws. We have a lot of laws. We got books and books of laws. We have to start enforcing them. If we don't have enough prisons and people don't want to be sent to El Salvador, then build more prisons and throw these people away. And maybe they'll stop doing what they're doing.
And I think people also. It's easy to get a it's easy to talk on this podcast or talk just in general about radicalisms or the left and the right side of things. But I think there's nuance to a lot of this stuff, right? So whenever they were discussing about the overpopulation of the prisons for nonviolent crimes and things of this nature. Granted, I was a little bit younger, but I was a little bit more, I wouldn't even say liberal leaning, but more libertarian leaning. And I agreed with a lot of the things, but I think that's a really interesting point is a lot of the things nowadays, whenever there's any kind of leeway given, people try to abuse that to the absolute max, not only with legality, but public opinion and the social tide. For instance, you know, there was an overpopulation of the jails previously, and now we've gotten to a point to where even the cops are afraid or worried to try to hold somebody accountable on the street in certain situations, whether that be because of their skin color or the situation or their, you know, economic situation. They don't want to actually enforce these laws anymore. It's kind of a slippery slope that we've gotten to the point to where, you know, it's all about extremes. There's never a nuanced, good middle ground. It's either we have too many people in prison or let's just not jail anybody at all and see what happens. And I think, when I was growing up, I realized that was kind of my take on the world. I was radical this way, I was radical this way, kind of swinging back and forth. But you kind of have to think for yourself and not listen to the noise and think logically about some of these things. I mean, it's pretty obvious if you go to any major city. Chicago is a great example. It is terrifying in certain areas because if you live there anyway, and I don't live in Chicago, but I can speak to this effect in my own city. There's certain areas you just know that it's like the concrete Wild West, right?
I
Like
agree 100%.
I wouldn't even bother calling a cop if something happened to me in that situation. I would just either handle it myself or get out as quickly as possible. Because even though we're in a huge metropolitan area, there's probably hundreds of cops within a 10-mile radius. No one is going to come to your help. No one cares anymore because the precedent that's been set because of the social tide that was at one point. Oh, these poor people, they're being, they were in prison for nonviolent crimes. Oh, he just had some weed. He just had this. He just had that. And they take that and they run with it for a mile. And frankly, when I was younger, I got in a lot of trouble, legally and non legally. And I think that a lot of that actually saved my life. And I don't say that as a hyperbole. I genuinely think that repercussions for my actions are the only thing that help course correct me to be the man that I am today. I mean, I know you've probably people like this if you didn't
Oh
raise
yeah.
one that if there weren't any repercussions, the path that they were going on was not going to end well for them. And you see, you know, the mass of
Well,
society like that today.
like I always told my kids, I told other people this, and I was told this. Nobody rises to meet low expectations. If you expect nothing, you get nothing. And a lot of these people, they just don't care. They don't care about human life. They don't care about anybody. They'll go out and pull a gun out on the street because someone said something bad to them.
Disrespect.
They disrespected me. I had to shoot them. Well, now you're in jail. Now what? I was
He
in a
has his pride.
Yeah, I was in a traffic court where somebody had hit my one of my vehicles. Went down there, and the guy in front of me, the judge was talking to him and said, "You know, maybe I can get you an occupational license." And he said, "Well, that was the one I just lost before." He said, "So you've lost your license, you've lost your occupational license, and you were driving a car, drunk and on drugs, and you hit a bunch of parked cars." He said, "Well, but it's not my fault. It wasn't my car." And the judge is like, "What?" He goes, "Well, it was a friend of my car, and it wasn't my car." He said, "So it's not my fault. It's not my car. I shouldn't be held responsible." And the judge is like, "What?" I mean, I sat there totally dumbfounded. I'm like, "This is what they believe?"
And this is kind of like what Elon Musk talks a lot about this, and I'm not a big um, what is his name? It's God Sal or something. He's the former Mossad guy that he's been making his rounds in the news. But he wrote a book, and it's called the parasitic mind, or no, the parasitic mind virus, known as wokeism, or it's something along those
Yeah.
lines. You can extrapolate from that. I probably butchered the title a little bit, but it's funny how things have snowballed into this case of insanity where we started and exactly what I was talking about earlier. You give them an inch and they take a mile. We try to be too nice, and okay, well, we'll give you the benefit of the doubt here. Okay, well, we'll give you an inch here, we'll give you an inch here. And now we're in 2025, and people don't even understand basic concepts of their own actions. They will genuinely argue to the death that what they did was not their fault because X, Y, and Z. Like, it's not their car. Well, I stole the car, but it wasn't my car.
Yeah,
Like
it can't be my fault.
the lady that stole the cop car here recently and killed the two other people. She's like, well, it was the cop's car, so
Yeah,
it should be the cop's fault,
it's their
right?
fault.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's like the lawsuits where we're going to sue this gun company because somebody died because of somebody else fired the gun, or you know let's
Well,
let's sue these companies because they're making us fat.
how
I
about
didn't know that if I ate at McDonald's every day 3 times a week or 3 times a day, that I'd get fat. I didn't know that.
how about the one
Sue
with
'em.
the lead paint in the schools? Now they're looking at trying to sue the paint companies, and lead paint hasn't been made for how long? I mean, it's always we got to sue somebody.
Didn't they have a mandate too that it's like you can't build with lead paint anymore? Like
Yeah.
you can't build with lead paint, and if you're going to do any revamping or remodeling with something and it's found to have lead paint, I know that's how it is with asbestos.
Yep.
So it's like if they find asbestos, which is something we primarily used for a long time, now you're not allowed to use it, and you're not even allowed to mess
Oh
with anything there.
no,
If
the
there's
remediation
anything,
is incredibly expensive.
yeah, absolutely. And so I guess maybe it's the cost aspect, but yeah, how can you sue somebody for something that was legal and even common 50, 60 years ago?
Well, they sued the cigarette companies. They sued everybody. I mean, let's let's face it.
Precedents.
You know,
No.
and there's still people that smoke. And if you haven't heard that it can cause cancer by now, then you live under a rock. But you know, these guys don't care. And you know, they raised the price. I don't even know what a pack of cigarettes is now, like $9 or something
Oh
ridiculous.
God, yeah. When I stopped, they were over 6, $7 a pack for a decent one, and yeah, they were going up. I've heard stories that in New York people pay like $15+ per pack of cigarettes. I don't. I used to smoke like a pack a day. I mean, that's a lot of money. You're looking at like what is that, $450 a month?
Oh God,
Just up and
that's
literally up in smoke.
yeah,
I'm so glad.
that's a
I'm
car
so glad I
payment.
quit.
Well,
Yeah,
almost a car payment
just about.
nowadays with the way
Yeah,
cars cost.
it's about. That's actually right on the money what I pay, but got a decent deal. So
Yeah, I don't know. The other thing I wanted to touch on, just some local news, is our great governor. I actually sent a text to or a message to Tom Homan that he should come arrest them because our governor of Wisconsin decided to Frankenstein a bill from a couple months back where he crossed out some numbers because they said you can't cross out letters anymore, but they didn't say numbers. So he crossed out some numbers and put a 10% increase on property taxes, all to go to school funding for the next 400 years. So that's 10% a year, which is going to be somewhere around $150 to $200 a household.
we're talking about 10%
10%
increased annually.
increased annually for
Okay.
400 years. And they took it to the Supreme Court, which our Supreme Court now is all liberal. And they said, well, you know, you got to understand something. A number is not a letter. So if you write 2024 and you don't spell it out, it really doesn't count. So,
Oh, because they can cross out the numbers and not the
oh
letters.
yeah, yeah. So you cross out the
Okay.
numbers, a couple dashes, and guess what? Now all of a sudden, instead of 2024, it's 2425, and you just did it for 400 years. So that's what they did. Um, and then the latest news was that he also has instructed all state employees not to follow any directions from ICE. He wants them to just ignore them, stall them, tell them that they can't let them in, tell them to put them in a room off to the back. They have to call their attorney, even if they come with a warrant. And so I just asked Tom Holman if he would just come and arrest them because it'd be nice to see. You know, our Governor Evers is such a guy.
Tom, if you need help, we know people. Get a hold of us. Our email is wordsandstonepodcast at gmail. Very simple.
Yeah, I tell you, it is just people, like I say, people just do what they want. They think they can do anything they want. Everybody's fighting in the government. I would vote for anyone, which I did, who had the best views and interests of the American people. And all we can do is fight. The Democrats are doing nothing but fighting on everything. Now they're trying to blame Hexeth for who knows what, you know, but they're always pointing fingers and crying. Why don't they just admit they lost? Let's get along with it. Let's fix the economy. Let's fix this country and let's move forward because we ain't going forward now.
Yeah, the House definitely is divided right now. I think it's interesting the Pete Hegseth situation. Actually, I think that something interesting happened if we really look at kind of the timeline. So I don't even know that a lot of people on the left had the biggest issue with Pete until recently when he opposed the war in Iran, which it seems like Israel has a very big incentive or motivation to push us along. And obviously, we work hand in hand a lot with Israel, for better or worse, whatever that may be. But it's interesting to me that our entire side is kind of leaving him open to the wolves right now. I keep reading these articles, and they're like, "Oh, well, 12 Democratic candidates are calling for Pete Hegseth to step down." Oh, you mean the same people that didn't nominate him for the position he's in? Color me shocked. Um, but it seems like there's a lot of people that are actually not defending him in the same vigor that they used to because of his stance on Iran. I think there's a lot to unpack there that I am not fully, I don't have a full grasp on the situation enough to really pick apart, but I will here in the coming episodes, and I would like to learn a little bit more about it because why is the war with Iran, so important to America right now that it seems like it's causing a great division between the parties? I mean, obviously more division than already is, but why does why do we need to go to a war so bad? I'm just it's maybe foreign politics is something that's too far above my head for me to comprehend, but I just don't understand the benefit of us being in these constant, endless wars in the sandbox that don't ever pay out. Any veteran I've talked to in Afghanistan or anybody else that's been overseas in the Middle East, it's just god awful. It's just terrible that we're even there. I mean, and then nothing even comes of it, other than all the gold we got. That was probably a plus for
Well,
America, but
I truthfully think that you're going to see God come back before there's peace in the Middle East.
oh yeah,
It is just, it's been like this forever. I mean, I don't think there's ever been a peaceful time over there. Somebody's always fighting about something. And then you got all these radical governments over there that are, you know, it's just crazy. But, if we are going to hold a vote in Congress or the Senate right now, we should do it because lots of the Democrats are in El Salvador trying to get that gang member out. So they're not there to vote. So I say we take up all kinds of them right now.
they probably let them remote vote nowadays. Honestly, 2025, they were arguing for that here recently, weren't they? They don't even want to show up anymore to actually cast their vote.
Well, they don't want to take time out of their busy day. They have things to do like, I don't know, what do they do?
Well, the women have kids.
Oh,
They have children. Yeah, absolutely.
there you go.
Yeah, so you know,
I
instead
think,
of making compromises like normal Americans, they want it all. they want to go to work remotely with their child, and not pay for daycare, but still make these six figures annually that they make plus whatever other side investment they have going on.
well, they make a lot of side investments because they're worth hundreds of millions of dollars. I would like to know who's paying for all these trips to El Salvador because if I'm paying for it, one of the Congress ladies said that she wasn't going to come back until they release this guy. I responded that she should probably buy some sunscreen because it's very sunny down there, and I hope she's there for a dang long time. It's and then the three other ones went down, and oh, we're staying, and they won't even talk to us. They don't have to talk to you. You're not even representing the United States at this point. I mean, I might as well send my neighbor down. He could do just as good. He would irritate them enough that they might let him go.
Yeah, I know I believe there's something about going against the current sitting administration for public foreign affairs as a local or probably even as a federal government agent. I imagine you're not allowed to supersede or subvert the residing administration when it comes to public
Oh,
affairs.
and if you try to do anything to them, they're going to cry and say that you're just picking on him because they're trying to help humanity. And oh my lord, he's not a gang member. His wife really didn't file papers on him twice for abuse. And oh no, what did she say? Oh, so you filed papers on your husband twice to have him arrested? Do you have anything to say?
He is alive and well. That is all I have to say.
That was the best.
That was
That
a
was the
really
best.
good
He's alive.
video. I think it was on Fox News. Yeah, the wife was. Oh no, it was ABC because I remember I was like, "Is this Fox? This sounds like a Fox I gotcha question."
Yeah.
But no, it was ABC. I was like blown away by that. They asked the lady, and you could tell she was not prepared for that
Oh
question
no, you weren't
at
supposed
all.
to ask me that. That wasn't part of the
She's like,
script.
we talked about this.
Yeah.
She's giving him the eyes. We talked about this.
And we weren't supposed to talk about this.
Yeah, you're getting sued, buddy.
That's right.
You're
Now
getting
you're in trouble.
sued.
I can't believe you put me on the spot.
That's libel. There's only two documents showing that. It's not enough to bring me to court.
Yeah, only ones that were filed. It's really something. I also want to know, as long as we're talking about Venezuela and the gang members, why do all the Democrats want to bring them back here? Are they going to pay for them? They have enough money. I mean, Bernie Sanders has how many houses worth several $1,000,000 apiece? And he's worth so much money. Do they live with him? Oh, maybe that judge. Maybe they live with the judge in New Mexico.
The New Mexico governor? Was he a judge or was he a governor?
I think he was a judge.
Oh, you read it more recently than I did. I glanced at it, but I wasn't sure.
He was a judge.
That's really funny. Oh, I bet he was one of the judges that tried to put a hold on some of the acts going on with immigration.
Probably, and all of a sudden he had to resign because he was caught holding an AR-15 with a gang member and the gang member's mom or something like that. I forget. But it's really pretty funny.
I will say she looked like a Hispanic grandmother,
like any you've ever
seen. Oh, yeah. Like any you've ever seen.
Yeah.
So
cute. Real humble, holding an AR.
Just don't check the phone.
That's right. She said it was heavy.
Just don't check the phone. That's some nasty videos my cousin did down in Guatemala.
Oh, I can't believe that this happened. Yeah, it's a shame. And the other thing that you sit there and you're always asked, should we deport, what's her name? Iman, the lady from Representative
Imar Ohan or whatever her name is.
Everything. Should we deport her because she's pledges allegiance to Somalia and, oh yeah, that's right, she married her brother. But then again, the district attorney from New York married her dad. Is that possible?
Ian Omar.
Ian Omar.
I don't know. Iihan Omar. I'm not from Somalia, so forgive my misdialect there.
So one married her brother, the other one married her dad. One to falsify real estate papers, and the other one so that
for a green card.
For a green card.
Yep. So she could stay legally in the United States and then preside over us as a representative of
Somalia.
Minnesota, same thing.
Pretty close.
There's a lot of Somalians up there, I guess. Yep. So
Tim Walz is there.
Apparently enough to get her voted. There's enough Somalis up there to get her voted. I've heard there's a lot up there. I try to avoid Minnesota. Not for any in particular reason. I'm far enough north. If I'm going to go travel, it's going to be south. So
exactly.
Yeah, I want to travel.
No, I just don't understand. Sometimes you wonder how these people get elected, and and they're trying to. They come to this country because they're trying to escape their country, but then they want to come here and they want to make our country like their country.
Identical, yeah.
And it's like all these protests. Now you're talking, how much you think it costs to go to Columbia College?
Oh, probably talking 6 figures or close to a year.
So a bunch of these people there decided to chain themselves to a metal fence in protest of, who knows what they're protesting. It could be, somebody looked at a blue jay with cross-eyed or something. But I suggested, in order to get them to move, that I would hook the fence up to 220 volts. And I know people frowned on that, but see how they like it. You can't just park it anywhere you want. You can't just do what you want. And these are the people that are educating our kids. And they come out of college with all of these strange ideas. Believe me, I had 4 kids. I have 4 kids. And I remember one of them at one time when he first got in college saying, we should have nationalized this and we should pay for this and that and that and that and that. And then it was funny. When he got married and bought a house, he came and said to me, you're right. I don't understand why I'm paying all these damn taxes for all these people who don't do anything.
Just about to say, taxes are a wake-up call for sure when you're an adult.
Yeah. And it was like, boy, it didn't take you long to see the light.
Well, if you pay attention to the taxes. I think there's a lot of people on autopilot that don't realize. I actually know for a fact, unfortunately, even Ashton is kind of one of them. We're talking about how much comes out of her check, and I'm like, yeah, more like 40%. Try like 40%. And she's like, no, not 40%. I'm like,
have you looked at it?
Oh my God, try 42 actually, probably a little over 40. Um,
Yeah, you should
yeah.
take a real close look at it because, oh my.
Oh, and for clarification earlier, I was very wrong. I'm obviously not a college graduate. Not didn't do much of the searching for colleges either. Columbia College in Chicago. I assume we're talking about Chicago here. Um, college in Chicago. $33,000 annually is the average tuition. So relatively cheap, actually. I think for colleges.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just assume college is always outrageous. So,
Well,
but
yeah.
I think a lot of that problem is that a lot of insanity. I can't remember. This sounds familiar to me, but I want to say insanity only survives in a vacuum. When people are isolated and in their own little bubbles and their own little groups, insanity can thrive. You can say something, somebody could justify it in their mind, they can take it and they can run with it. But when insanity reaches reality, and whenever it's in the real world, when you're dealing with the mass majority of the populace, I don't think a lot of these ideas that people in college, you know, actually can survive the test of reality. That's why I think, whenever they come out of the college, they've been in this liberal bubble for so long, and they've been force fed, and these ideas have been sown, so they're reaping the benefits of them, which is, in my mind, insanity. Probably a better word for it, but it seems insane. And then whenever they get into reality, it just spirals. It goes one of two ways. They either can reconcile with the truth and reality of what's going on, where maybe they were partially right, but there's a little bit more to it, more nuance, if you will, or they just sink so deep down into insanity. And I think that's kind of where we've been getting with some of these people. And just to be just fair's fair. I think there's people on both sides. I think there's some conservatives that have completely fallen off the wagon, and I think that there's a mass majority of liberals though that are completely off the deep end, and they realize they can't backtrack on certain issues like the transgender issue. Imagine being a parent and having a transgender child, and not just having a transgender child. And I'm not trying to mock this in any way, shape, or form. I actually feel very bad for not only these kids but for the parents. More so the kids, but the parents. If you have a child that's under adult age, we'll even say 14, 15, 16. I think kids kind of start coming into their own a little bit more. A little bit of adulthood starts to spring out of some of them. If your kid is under 15 years old and you have a transgender child, I think that you have a serious problem with you that you need to reflect on. Children mimic and copy everything you do, and if you're offering your child on the altar of transgenderism, so you can be, I don't know, have this award with your clan or your group, I think there's something really sick about that. That you're offering your child up to do this, mutilating them in a way that cannot be taken back. And once you've accepted that as a reality, as your truth, as the world you live in, it would be so demoralizing and damning, self damning, to try to walk that back, wouldn't it? I mean,
Well,
think about it, like admitting to your child that you were wrong and you mutilated them beyond comprehension. They will never be able to be their true self that God created anymore because you fell victim to an ideology that was going around and you just wanted to be included. Like, how sick is that? I could never, if I was in those shoes, I see why they doubled down on it. They will never be able to walk this back. I mean, they couldn't live with themselves. I wouldn't.
no, I look at it like after having kids, parenting nowadays has gotten to be where you're trying to listen to all of these people who, everybody says, oh, there's no book to raise a kid. There's thousands of books to raise a kid.
The hell too.
The problem is it's common sense. When they do something wrong, you have to discipline them. You have to tell them no. You've got to make them sit there. Nowadays, you can't correct your child without somebody telling you that you're abusing them. You can't tell them no because everybody is, oh, they have the right to do. No, they don't. I'm sorry. You're supposed to help form these children's minds to the right way. You're supposed to, what they learn is in the home, whether it's religion, morals, and everybody has seemed to lost sight of morals lately. It's a point of, not, oh, outside voices. It's sit on your bottom. No, you know something? if you're not going to behave, you're going to go sit in that chair over there for 15 minutes, and it's going to get longer every time. I'm not in for beating children at all, but I remember when I was a kid, I tell you what, I got a crack on the rear end, and oh, you know what, opened my eyes, and I didn't want that again, so I didn't do it. They don't do that anymore. Nobody disciplines their kids anymore. And the worst part is so many people don't even know where their kids are. You hear about these shootings that go on and all this stuff that goes on. A 14-year-old kid, a 13-year-old kid out at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I was more afraid of my dad than I was the police. Because if they would have brought me home to him and said, "Oh, he was doing this," I would have said, "Please take me to prison because I don't want my repercussions from my dad." But oh no, can't do that anymore. You just got to sit and smile and say, "Oh, little Johnny was such a good boy. He was going to be an altar boy. He played Pop Warner football. He was such a saint." No, he wasn't. He's in all of these Facebook videos holding wads of money and holding guns. And oh, did you know that? Oh no. You know something? Try to get your kids off of social media when they're so young because it rots their brains. They shouldn't be on it.
I mean,
Plain
yeah,
and simple.
yeah, they engineer it. I mean, they admit it. They engineer it in ways to keep you hyper fixated on it, to keep the dopamine rush in your brain. I was actually talking to my wife about this before we came down here. I was talking about biohacking because we were talking about um, uh, the casinos. Sorry, I was going to call it the actual name, but just
Yep.
casinos in general. It's not just the one that we were referring to, but they will biohack you, and it's funny because a lot of people don't probably realize this. So this may be a wake up call into the aspect of how much you are manipulated, and I don't mean manipulated like telling you misinformation, doing this. I mean on a chemical, on a biological, and on a psychological level.
They have
We are
no idea.
we are all being manipulated to the extent that indifference and ignorance is not an excuse anymore. You have to expect it. And I think people don't realize that there's not only first sets of consequences, but secondary consequences and even cascading third effects of consequences that we do in our lifetime. But going back to the biohacking, we were talking about how casinos, they spend millions of dollars in R&D, research and development, trying to find out which smell will help uh, people in certain environments spend more money, if you will, lower your inhibitions. They will send a different scent into the high rollers room, a different scent into the slots room. I think they pump cigarette smell in there, but
Yeah.
that could just be a
No, that's the
byproduct.
bingo hall.
Okay, the bingo hall, my
And then
bad.
they have to pump
And
oxygen in for all the blue hairs.
it's a 50-50. It's a
Yeah.
50-50 mix. It's a science, Jeff. Um, but it's funny because they don't just biohack you nowadays. It's psychohack. I think I might have just coined that term, but they psychologically hack you.
I like it. We got
It's
to write that down.
it's literally that Twitter admits to this, or not Twitter. I'm sorry, TikTok. TikTok admits to this, and they actually brag about that is why it is one of the most popular and most um, it's one of the biggest social media apps in the game. I don't even use it. I cannot get away from seeing TikTok videos. They are mass reproduced onto other sites. But the funny thing is, it's not about the video, the style of the video. It's about in the function of the application. As soon as one app does it ends, one not one app, sorry, one video ends, it immediately pushes it up and starts another one. And
Yep.
and your brain, you don't even have time. And I was watching something the other day about this, and it's interesting. And this is just speculation, but the speculation is that back in the day, you would be presented with information, your brain, and then you had time, right? You could decipher in your own mind what makes sense, what doesn't. Is this logical? Is this nonsense? And now people are just so glued to their phones, you literally can't even go down the street without seeing 50% of the cars just staring at their phone and glancing up ever so frequently. Um, Actually saw a really nasty accident because of that today, right next to me on the way home.
Only one?
But yeah, just one. It was a short drive home.
Wow.
But it psycho hacks you, and it literally just gets you addicted to the dopamine hit, just like drugs in a way, but in a much more minuscule and like biological level. Instead of getting this huge rush of dopamine from doing a drug, you're getting these little perfectly timed dopamine hits from each one of the posts. Everybody that likes the post, the more viral it goes. And they figured this out through millions of dollars of studying, and they can actually psychologically hack you to keep you hooked. I mean, I'm aware of this stuff. I've hated social media for many years. If anybody actually finds me on social media, you'll see that I like things a lot, but I refrain so much for years, probably 6 to 7 years. I have typed things out, and I'm like, nope, nope, I'm not going to put myself on there.
Well,
I
can't say
also
it.
I also have more of a tinfoil hat reason why I don't do that, but it also is because social profiles and putting my opinion out in public doesn't really do a whole lot, especially in comment form when there's millions of other comments. It's not going to change the world. I can keep my opinion myself. It doesn't really matter. But I still find myself hooked to it. It's hard. Like you have to pull yourself away.
Oh yeah.
And if anybody's had, I know some people haven't had to tussle with these kind of situations before, but if you've had like a drinking problem or a drug problem or just a consumption problem of whatever, I'm a full force kind of guy, and I try to be self aware of that. But I find myself at 30 years old having a pretty good sense of willpower when it comes to cutting myself off of things. I'm doing this too much. I need to lay off this. I'm spending too much time on something that's not productive, etc. Self-reflective, whatever you want to call it. I find myself getting stuck on these apps, and I just use Twitter. That is the only thing I use. I don't even look at
X.
Facebook anymore. X. Sorry,
You're on X.
I apologize, Elon. Didn't mean to dead name your app, but yeah, I get hooked to it, and I think that's one of the lesser apps. I think TikTok is probably one of the more, you know, proclivative and the attention grabbing space, but um, yeah, it's crazy, and I think a lot of people are so grown up in it. It's kind of like growing up in a cage. You grow fond of the bars. You don't understand the opposite effect
Yep.
of it. And I'm sorry.
Well, when you brought up accidents, I was just looking at the report that you pulled up that there's. I can't even say this with a straight face. This is how they gauged traffic accidents. So they
I'll
said
put this up on the screen here.
so there were what 0.03 accidents per day or deaths from car accidents in Milwaukee,
So
and so there's I can't even say it.
you're fine. The theory is I think that they're trying to engineer AI and curate it in a way to make us even dumber. And I know that's hard to believe if you've ever been out in public, but so I don't like to ask AI for a lot of things. I think AI is kind of like the training wheels we don't need. Back in the day, men had to be strong to do certain jobs. We're just using this as an example, women too, whatever. Men had to be to a certain physical standard to do certain jobs, right? As technology went along and got better and better, men don't have to be as strong, men don't have to be as precise. There's literally a jackhammer now that they have like a I don't even know, it's like a Tony Stark suit, if you will, coming out, and it holds the jackhammer suspended in air, and all you do is just against the wall. There's no pressure, there's no nothing. You just kind of guide it, right? So you don't have to have the strength, you don't have to have the brains anymore. And now they're coming out with AI because I think that's the last step. Is that if we can just get people to fully turn off their brain and not think about stuff, and I have to give kudos where kudos is due. The people, if this is intentional, and I'm not just a psychopath that thinks that this is some plot to get people, major kudos to the people that thought of this. It's actually very brilliant. You take out 90% of the population and their ability to think critically, actually question things. You essentially make 90% of the population retarded. And anyway, let me get back to the point. So if you were to Google and ask how many fatalities there were in Milwaukee annually, and can you break that number down to a per day number? Just because I assumed that there would be at least a death a day, maybe a couple deaths a day. This is verbatim what it shows, and I'll put this up on the screen here. It's difficult to provide an exact number of fatalities in Milwaukee per day, as traffic deaths are not always a constant daily occurrence and can fluctuate. However, going off of data from 2022, Milwaukee County experienced 111 traffic deaths, with 63 of those occurring in the city of Milwaukee itself. But this translates to roughly zero point 0.3 traffic deaths per day. I won't even do the math. That sounds right. Or about 28 traffic deaths per month. I'll say that again. 0.3 traffic deaths per day, or 28 traffic deaths per month.
Times 12 months.
I forgot about the 90-day month right in between February and March.
That's why winter's so long.
I know that learning language models are going to have its issues and whatever else, but if we're talking about something that can pass the Turing test and it can't do simple math for me, not
Nah,
interested.
not interested.
Not interested. Stop putting it in my Google. Stop putting it in my Messenger. Stop putting it in my car. I do not care about it. I don't want it around. And I'm not afraid of Skynet. I actually think a lot of the technology that's coming out is pretty neat, pretty cool, great uses. I don't think we need to be worshiping it. I don't think we need to start turning our brains off so that AI can feed us garbage results so we can be even more ignorant than we already are.
I'll tell you a good one. On the way to work the other day, in the morning, early, get to a busy intersection. I'm in the right lane. There's a right turn lane, lane, left turn lane. Guy pulls up to me in the right turn lane thinking he's going to turn right. Nope. The light's red. He creeps slowly out into the intersection. Now, he was checking both ways, so he was really doing his due diligence. Crosses the intersection on a red, shoots off down the road. The light turns green, drive down there. This guy turns into a bus, a school bus facility. He must be a bus driver. Now, I feel really safe with having my kid on that guy's bus.
I think I saw that same driver on duty. If no one knows what a Milwaukee move over is, you've probably seen it, but we coined it here. Sorry, it's a term. If they do it in your city, it's still called the Milwaukee move over. The bike lane, 2-lane road, bike lane on the side. That is not a bike lane if there's no bikes in it.
Well, it's a passing
Go
lane.
figure. And
That's
there's
right.
no speed limit in that area
That's
either.
right.
You go as fast as you want in that bike lane, you're good.
Until you hit the parked car that's farther up.
No, they account for that. You just want to go even faster so you can
Get
jump
back
in.
I like that.
Yeah, right before the
Yeah,
car. It's more
that's-
thrilling that way.
Yep.
I don't think I've ever seen anybody that performs a Milwaukee move over slow down in that instance. They just
No.
speed up.
Oh, yeah.
It's a test.
Yep.
It's a
It's
test
gotta
of
be.
their manhood.
It's got to be a
They wanna-
test to something.
It's a test of something.
I don't know exactly what, but it's a
They,
test of
they
something.
failed and passed all at the same time,
I mean,
depending
you can-
on what test it is.
You can drive by the police station over there, and they're going 60 miles an hour, and the police just don't even look.
Yeah,
It's like, why bother? You're
that was
just pulling me over, and I'm just going to tell you it's not my car anyways, and they're not going to put me in jail.
I ain't gonna stop.
That's right.
You can't hold me.
You got 28 speeding violations, driving without a license, doing all this stuff, and guess what? I can't take you in. I just got to let you go. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I need my pension. My family needs to get fed, so I guess you
Yeah.
can go ahead and keep murdering people.
Yep. Have a good day. This I tell you, this country has got to get back to values, morals. I don't know.
America first.
Yeah, America first.
Actually, America first. Not our partners, not our friends. America.
Yeah, America.
If they're our friends and they're our greatest ally, wink, wink, I think that they'll understand. If you have a friend and you're trying to better yourself and they're sitting there like, no, we have to better ourselves. You can't get better by yourself. Oh, I might not be your best friend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think you might want to
Exactly.
reevaluate that friendship.
Yeah.
And, back to Pete Hegseth, I think that not wanting to go to war with Iran is, I don't know, not a crazy topic or crazy controversial opinion. I think the guy should keep his job. I think not going to war is exactly what this administration talked about. And frankly, if Trump lets it happen, it's going to be pretty disappointing. Granted, every president I've ever had in my lifetime has been monumentally disappointing every day, if not every other day.
Pretty much.
Trump's been batting pretty good. I have a lot of bones to pick with him. He's doing way too much. He's moving too fast and breaking too much stuff to really expect for him to be batting 1,000, right? Nobody, unless you're Trump yourself, I doubt you're happy with every single thing he's done, unless you're also part of a small niche group of conservatives I was referring to earlier that are too tribalistic to see past, your own delusions. There's things I don't like that he's done. I think that it would be a dishonor to the people in his administration if Pete Hegseth gets pushed out because of a simple opinion that went against the Israeli agenda. We'll call it that, the Israeli agenda. And maybe not even theirs. It's our agenda. It's the agenda that the war hawks, the neocons, that they want to push. They want us to go to war. I mean, it's obviously good for business for them. It's been working well for them if you've seen any of their portfolios. But I don't think it's working for the American people.
And I think America first, always. We have to take care of the people in this country. we also need to take care of the veterans in this country. Why is it that every ethnic group that I can think of, I even think they have a month for candy lovers where it's your month. And veterans get 1 day after what they've done for this country and everything that they do, and we give them 1 day. We have homeless veterans, but yet we're willing to spend. Look at all the money that Doge found that we spent stupidly that we could be giving to the people in this country and the people who need it. There are people that need help. There's a lot of people that need help. But if you're the kind of person that says, I don't want to get a job because I don't want to work, if you want that, then, I'm on food stamps, I'm on assistance, I'm on this, maybe you should get another job and then give me the money from that. Oh, wait a minute. If you're getting assistant food stamps and everything else, who in the hell do you think you're getting all this money from? That's from the people like us who work. And I'm getting pretty tired of listening to everybody complain about poor me, poor me. The old saying was God helps those who help themselves. And if you don't like the situation, do something about it. Work hard, get a job, get an education. There's a lot of jobs out there right now you can do. But don't come whining to me. Don't stand on the corner with a sign that says, "Oh, please help me, I'm homeless," but you're there every day, and you're there for 6 hours a day, smoking cigarettes and talking on your phone. And oh, I'm supposed to feel sorry for you.
And,
Not
and just because
sorry.
you rotate corners every other week doesn't mean we don't notice. I live here.
We drive around a lot. We
Yeah.
see you all over.
Yeah.
It's and then you walk over to, around the corner. You get in your car and you drive away. And it's all tax-free money. Sorry. Don't feel sorry.
You're not wrong, though. I feel like we really don't do enough to help the VA or the veterans. And it also comes down to the whole nuance thing we were talking about earlier. I don't think you can just throw money at the situation and
No.
fix it, but I think accountability in spending, which I think is
Yep.
kind of what Doge is doing right now. Which, God forbid, a man do something good for free, right? Let's burn his company down.
How dare
Um,
he?
and as far as Elon goes, I don't care about his political affiliation. I didn't like his political affiliation until recently. So I mean, it's not that's not the reason I like the guy. I think it's just insane that it's that we've gotten to that point in our tribalism that they're literally firebombing and spray painting and trying to destroy his legacy and just over his political views. I think we need to move past that. I wouldn't even mind talking to somebody that is of the other side that can have a good like having the conversation in good faith.
I would like to have a conversation. I don't want someone screaming at me because I'll smack them.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
I'm sorry.
I don't I know that a lot of people, even on our side, I know conservatives go out and they try to antagonize. Let's say not the most mentally well put together people in the street. They got purple hair. You say one word and they freak out on those videos we're using, and I feel like I see more of those because they're more enjoyable. It's kind of more ridiculous, so
They
it
are
gets more
funny.
attention. It is kind of funny,
It's not fun.
but
Yeah.
even in my personal life, I feel like it's difficult to talk to somebody that is more liberal minded without them having a meltdown or a shouting match. And I ramble, I get too caught up in my thoughts, and I pin my next thought in my head when people are talking. So sometimes I'll get a little worked up and maybe not even listen to the last thing. But I don't mean that. I mean to the point of almost a psychotic break. Like they are like shaking and freaking out because these people cannot handle confrontation. And thank God I got into knocking doors when I was younger and got my teeth kicked in for years because I genuinely think I was on the cusp of the generations that could not handle confrontation, but I learned through the fire of it. I was forged in fire when it comes to that. I like being able to talk to somebody and have some discourse.
I like an intelligent conversation. And
That
as
too.
long as it's constructive both ways, everybody's entitled to their opinion.
Yep.
But don't tell me that I am flipping moron. I should be dead. I hate, everything on earth. And because I believe one way and you believe another way. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. But one last thing I got to bring up before we finish up.
Yeah, we'll wrap up here.
The thing that I thought was the greatest was when they sent all those ladies into space and now they want to be recognized. How long were they in space? Like true space, like 2 minutes. Now they want to be recognized as astronauts. I mean, maybe they took up space in school, but I am telling you right now, you're not an astronaut just because you flew high in the air. I mean, and were weightless for a little bit. That's that's just too good.
Sorry, honey, we left you identifying in the last administration. You should have tried that like 3 years ago when you could claim that you were a cat and go to school and get a litter box. It might have worked then, but unfortunately, no one's buying that you're an astronaut.
I think they want the pension that you get for being an astronaut.
Oh, that's not a bad play. Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet we can go on a hot air balloon high enough if we just pass out. I think that's like technically space, right? It's like the lower atmosphere. Oh, well, no, we got to get out of the atmosphere.
How about
so.
if we just suck on some helium?
Yeah. Some interesting world. Interesting world.
It is. And we're going to be back. All I can say is try to be kind. Try not to be such nut jobs. Don't hate everybody. Pay it forward. And, you know, I'm 66, and I have seen this world turned on its head. And it seems to be getting crazier and crazier. Trump is trying to take care of America, take America first, get all of these jabronis out of the country. And if they want to come in, I'm all for it. If they come in legally, there's a right way and a wrong way. And don't tell me that you came here illegally and you should be granted all of the money and the hotel rooms and the food and everything else that they give you. And our people are starving in spots. Sorry. Doesn't work that way.
Yeah, 4 times the amount that the average VA recipient gets.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, each public school student in the state of Wisconsin is $16,335.
Whew.
Now they want to
Wow.
up that by 10% a year for the next 400 years. And our grades in our state and our superintendent of education just keeps lowering standards. So it looks like we're doing good, but guess what? We're not.
Well, at least 10% a year will keep up with inflation. Sorry. Oh, man.
All right.
But yeah, this is we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thanks for joining us again at the Words and Stone podcast. We're going to call this episode Sic Parvis Magna. It's Latin for from small beginnings. I like it. I think that's what we're going to call it. This is a little taste of what we're going to be doing here every week, and I think we're going to get progressively better as we go because that's how things work.
That's how we go. So. And we'll be posting places to get a hold of us on social media, and it'll all work good. We look forward to talking with you next week.
Yep. Reach out to us at wordsandstonepodcast@gmail.com. Give us suggestions. If you want to join the show, give your opinion. If you want to argue with us, if you want to agree with us, let us know.
We love to argue.